Hello and welcome to Allot on Air. During the next 10 minutes or so, we will be meeting with industry experts to discuss the hottest trends in telecom, cybersecurity, and network intelligence.
Hi everyone. On February 23rd, Allot will be hosting a webinar in which we will be releasing the results of an extensive survey of 8,000 consumers in Europe, North America, and APAC, gauging their needs and attitudes towards cybersecurity. Today, I'm pleased to have with me in the Allot On Air studio Stephen Saw, director at Coleman Parkes Research based in London, who conducted the research, and my colleague Avi Hein, product marketing manager here at Allot, who is putting together our telco trend report based on the survey that will be published following the webinar. Stephen, Avi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so let's jump right into it. So, Stephen, tell me about the survey. What was the rationale in the past and what's different this time?
Sure. Thanks, Barry. As you mentioned in your introduction, we surveyed 8,000 consumers globally across North America, EMEA, and APAC. The idea being that we wanted to build on our understanding of previous research with regards to the uptake and desire for security solutions amongst the general public. In terms of rationale, we're constantly seeing concerns towards cyber threats, and consumers are increasingly identifying security solutions as a great way to secure their devices. And what's different this year is that we've built extensively on the previous survey by increasing the sample across both mature and maturing countries. And ultimately, we wanted to continue to educate the CSP market on consumer needs.
Excellent. All right. So, Avi, let me go to you. What surprised you the most about writing the report?
Yeah, Barry. Consumers know that security is important. 78% of respondents believe that they have a security application on their mobile device. But I was surprised by how much that they are confused. A third of respondents assume that they have a security app, but they're not sure. There's an expectation that when they walk away with their newest phone that they're already protected. Consumers are also confused about how to secure their device. In this report, 57% of respondents who don't have a device are unsure which solutions to choose. This is a significant increase from our last report in late 2020. In 2020, 31% of respondents were unsure of which solution to choose. This probably reflects the fragmentation of the consumer security market. Consumers are also confused about what they need to protect themselves against. They aren't always protected against the right stuff.
All right, this is actually a pretty big increase, and we're going to go into it in the webinar itself. But let's talk about that right stuff, not the movie, but here. Can you elaborate, Avi, on what you mean when you say consumers are protected against the right stuff?
Most consumers who have a security application installed have antivirus solutions. This is a significant increase from late 2020. But what about other kinds of attacks? Less than half of respondents are protected from phishing attacks, yet phishing attacks are on the rise. They're reaching a record high, more than doubling since early 2020. Listeners are probably familiar with another attack that we recently discussed. In November, Allot Secure blocked more than 1.7 million instances of a phishing attack pretending to be from Amazon. An antivirus solution alone wouldn't have kept the user safe.
Actually, we'll invite our listeners to go and check that out on our website. They can see the report that was put out about that Black Friday phishing attack. All right, Stephen, let me ask you the same question that I asked Avi before. What surprised you the most when gathering the data?
Yeah, first, I completely agree with Abby's findings. It's really clear from the survey results that consumers around the world want protection from cyber attacks, but are really unsure on how to protect themselves. And what else also stood out for me were three other insights. Firstly, a staggering 67% of consumers have potentially been a victim of a cyber attack. 23% of them are certain, but 44% are not too sure. They assume they have. So this really indicates how sophisticated under the radar cyber attacks are becoming and how vulnerable consumers are in reality, which is an issue that needs addressing. Secondly, consumers are holding their CSP accountable for cyber attacks. And as a result, a lack of security protection is now becoming a driver to switch providers. And that's alongside other drivers for switching, such as poor quality of service. And last but not least, what else was surprising in the results was how they varied by region and country. For example, it seems consumers in Germany and UAE are the least concerned about cyber attacks compared to the rest of the world, but they also place the most trust in their CSP to protect them. So we really need to understand more about the role of CSPs in Germany, and if there are any learnings we can apply to other markets.
Absolutely. Interesting. Okay, so Stephen, let me stay with you for another minute. Where do consumers look to advice about cybersecurity?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear in the results. It's loud and clear, in fact. They're looking to their CSP.
Screaming even.
Screaming at
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
In fact, 75% of consumers said they trusted their mobile provider to protect them from cyber threats. And the other thing I found interesting, particularly as mobile providers are always promoting their latest entertainment offering, is that consumers responded that securing their device is more important than the latest gaming craze, which is a huge insight in itself. And also 54% of respondents said that mobile security protection was the most important thing, the highest by far. Cyberbullying protection was tied with entertainment at 13%, and respondents saying that this was also important.
Okay, so Stephen, one more question for you on parental control, which is also a piece of this survey, right? Consumer security and also parental control. Do parents really care about parental control, and where do they expect to get it?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is a big yes. Parents want parental control. We found, in fact, 80% of parents with children 3 to 16 years old said it was important, which is a significant increase from 2020, where only 56% said it was important. So a huge increase in the last couple of years. And most parents want parent control from their mobile service provider as part of their service contract or bundle, and they're not looking for it from third-party apps, and 74% agreed with that.
So thank you, Stephen. And one last question for you, Avi, before we wrap this up. What advice would you have for a mobile provider looking to differentiate from the pack and increase their revenues?
Sure, I would suggest that they invest and differentiate in a quality cybersecurity solution and parental controls. Customers are looking for this as we've just discussed. They're willing to pay for it, and it goes beyond the added revenue of a bundle or value-added service. It's also a way to reduce dissatisfaction and churn. It's not simply a question of checking off a box. Do you have the service or not? It must be compelling. Subscribers may switch to a competitor if the competitor has a better offering. So yes, of course, my advice for providers is to consider a solution like Allot Secure.
Well, this is good stuff, and certainly it sets the stage for the February 23rd webinar, where we will be discussing more on the subject and we'll be presenting the full results of the survey, as well as releasing the report. Our listeners can register for the webinar on the Allot website. So I want to thank you guys. Stephen Saw, Director at Coleman Parkes Research based in London. Avi Hein, Product Marketing Manager here at Allot. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
That's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. You can get more information about network intelligence and security solutions for service providers and enterprises on our website at allot.com. Subscribe to this podcast to make sure you hear about new trends and technologies on the next episode of Allot on Air.